There's this concept in therapy that I heard in a training I was in last weekend, sex therapy training, bend, don't break. It's a fairly common phrase. It has different meanings in different contexts, but actually all kind of the same meaning, which is when you're in a therapy session, you want to get the intention, and you're never going to be perfect in this, right? But the intention for you and also the intention for your therapist is to get to a point of emotional discomfort. Like you're trying to tap in to feelings in a way like maybe you wouldn't in your normal life, like actually reaching a point of going to the thing that feels hard, but not pushing yourself to such an extreme that you get to sort of an overwhelmed state or like a spiraling state or a really intense shame state, like going beyond your window of tolerance to such an extreme that it doesn't actually feel productive, right?
Yes. I mean, I think in simplistic terms, it's like bendability. So it's flexibility
Mhm.
so that you can work with some harder feelings.
Mhm.
But to be flexible is to also be like, don't think I have that today. I'm feeling tender,
Right.
right?
Right. So I think the first thing is just accepting that you have a window of tolerance. Like I think we can just get into this mindset that like we're going to heal and we're just going to go for it. And we forget that we have a certain capacity and we all have a certain capacity. And it's not something that's really taught to us. Um, it's really not something that's taught to us that we have a certain capacity for emotion. Um, so you can just like actually imagine that as like a window. And in therapy, you're trying to get to like somewhere close to the edges of your window.
Mm.
And maybe that boundary can actually like bend a little bit and you can be with it and you feel the discomfort, but you still feel like a healthy type of movement.
Yes.
Um, so that you leave the session feeling like I really tapped into something there that was hard, but I got it out and I felt held by my therapist and and the energy somehow feels lighter at the end of it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
On a good day.
On a good day, yeah. This is intention. Like we're not like it's not gonna go perfectly. Like there's gonna be sessions when trauma comes up, you're not expecting it, your therapist isn't expecting it, and you're gonna push outside your window and you're gonna get overwhelmed. It's like part of it. We're never gonna be perfect in this. There's also gonna be times when you don't push your window at all, like you stay really kind of defended in therapy. And that's okay too. It's like it's never gonna go perfect.
Yeah. I mean, what what perfect is actually in my mind in terms of this of bending and not breaking is the ability to relax. So
Hmm.
if we relax, we're able to sort of uh well, another way to look at it is that like if you cut your arm, the arm is going to heal on its own. We actually don't have to do anything. We might need to keep it clean so it doesn't get infected, but the arm heals on its own. And so our organism, given the right circumstances, clean bandage, whatever, does tend towards healing. And
Hmm.
but we're so in our masculine selves so much of the time wanting to accomplish and do and get it over with. And especially when it's painful or there's difficult trauma, right? That we're trying to like we want to heal quickly. So we're trying to do it
Hmm.
and as opposed to loving it
Hmm.
and relaxing with it, which I think in the long run makes you more bendable, flexible. The healing happens as opposed to the breakage is uh, too much too soon, too much work, way backslide. I can't do this in therapy. That was a horrible experience. I can't handle it. Um,
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. Definitely have seen this a lot in therapy with that masculine energy coming in and trying to just like fix the thing as opposed to like gently tapping in and opening up the space for
yes.
that feeling to it's like trusting your system a little bit to move in that direction. Um, I think it's important to talk about like, okay, what does this look like in actual session? right? Like, so what does a session look like where you stay within your window, but maybe you kind of push to the edges of it? I would say like one example that just comes up is like a good cry where you feel like it gets to some resolution point. Like it's intense, but then it gets somewhere else, right?
Mm.
As opposed to like a cry, a cry where you go outside your window might be something where it just feels like you get lost in the tears and it's almost like you're going down a well. And there's nothing to really grab onto. You're just going down into it and you don't really feel like your therapist is with you anymore. And you just feel like this kind of overwhelming sense of despair, right? Does that
Yes,
what yeah.
I think what it's making me think is that the amount of crying, because sometimes I can, if it's really one of those times, I can feel quite exhausted at the end of the cry. I feel pretty depleted. I think what's coming up for me is that um is the mind so connected to the narrative. So are you letting yourself having a body response and release that you can move through, or is there something about the deep work that is attached to narrative, and it's never going to get better, and I'm always going to feel like this about myself? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I think about bending and not breaking, it really, I feel like the work, especially with trauma and with those really difficult things that people come in with, is that, the self-compassion work, the gentleness,
Hmm.
the noticing, and us, helping them see how their mind keeps taking over into narrative, because most of the time in any given moment,
Mhm.
very safe. It's our minds that keep going back to a
Right,
difficult thing or imagining a future difficult thing, right?
right, right. Yeah, I just like this idea of chipping away. Like we're all chipping away. I think there's also a mind narrative that we're gonna heal and then we're gonna get to this like blissed out, enlightened state. And like I still have my my deep thing that I'm chipping away at. And so when I actually shift the perspective of therapy to each week I'm going to maybe just do a little bit of chip away as opposed to I'm going to go really deep. It feels much more self-loving. It feels like, oh yeah, I'm on this journey of healing that started way before I was born and and has been carried in my genetics. And I'm doing my piece of trying to clear what I can, as opposed to this is what's happened to me and I need to get rid of it to get back to some like blissed out state.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Right. I mean, again, I think it's like, can in any given moment, can you remind yourself, can you remind the client, can the body lead the way? Because, on any given, I think if you're really more in touch with just your present emotion and your body experience, it will be a measured healing, just like the arm. It's like a
Uh,
measured coming together,
right,
Um,
right.
yeah, I mean, we wish this for all of our clients, and certainly try to provide this this
Yeah,
environment.
I was just thinking about that arm cut. In many cases, when someone first comes into therapy, it's such a deep wound that like if it was a physical wound, you might consider it like a hospital type wound, right?
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
this is where the two, maybe I'm wrong, just tell me what your thoughts are. But this is kind of where those two things diverge a little bit, is we're saying that unless there's like a serious crisis where you need to actually like you're considering harming yourself, we're actually saying that we need to treat this wound delicately, piece by piece over time, right? As opposed to like one big event.
Yes. Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree.
But
I
and
agree.
trust, yeah, I guess, and trust that, you know, it's the analogy I'm bringing up is like if the physical wound is so deep, it's like your body can't, you actually need help from,
Yes, you need
oh,
stitches.
yeah. And so like what is the equivalent? You can't do it all by yourself in therapy. Like you need another person with you.
Yeah, I
Doing
mean,
that.
that's the beautiful equivalent. So if the cut is so deep that you have to go to the hospital, you need help from somebody else,
Mhm.
right? It's like some things we just need, so many things we need help with,
Yeah.
and getting to that point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing well. I need help. And that could be therapy. It could be a higher power. It can be, reaching out and saying to your best friend, I'm doing this weird thing. It's like I need help. I can't do this on my own. I can't be isolated with this very deep cut. It's not going to heal.
Yeah. 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 But so often we want to just do it by ourselves because we don't want that vulnerability of opening up. It also just makes me think about like when we say bend, don't break, often when people come into therapy, they feel broken, right? And so there's an important shift of perspective there, which is you're not broken as in like irreparably harmed. You're broken in that you've gone outside of your window and you don't have like you're sort of holding too much for your system to be able to handle. And so actually going into a relationship where you're chipping away and working on that can bring you back into your window towards healing. So it's like it's not often with broken we go to this kind of permanent state, but really it's just that you've gone outside the window.
Yeah. And I think that does happen. People come into therapy, they're in crisis.
Mhm,
It's a
mhm, mhm.
crisis. And so what we're doing is we're gently bringing them back into a workable, more sustainable existence, right?
Yeah, it's almost like when I hear the word broken, it's like maybe it's just that you're heartbroken, you know, like your heart connection it's there's too much has happened where your connection to your heart has broken.
Yeah.
And so therapy is the space to sort of restore that connection.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.